been a while. I'm the Badger Reborn, and today I'm going to watch and review episode 1 of Amazon's Wheel of Time. Now, I know I'm a bit late with this, seeing as the show came out more than a few days ago. So why now? After the season came out, there was a lot of negativity from sections of the fanbase and other people. This frankly had the effect of souring me on the Wheel of Time, both the show and the general fandom, including my own YouTube channel. As a result, I've barely followed any Wheel of Time news over the past several months and have not watched the show since it aired. With that said, I'm going to review the show in its entirety and be as honest as I can. I'll just put this out at the beginning. I didn't love it. I didn't think it was a great season or a great adaptation. And I'll be honest about the things that I didn't like. With that said, if you're checking out this review in the hopes that I'll dislike the skin color of the actors, or I'll insist the show was emasculating all the male characters, or I'll make a gay joke about the showrunner Rafe Judkins, bye. Not going to happen because all of that is ridiculous. I've never done anything like this type of review, so perhaps it will be tremendously boring. Oh well, if that's the case, it will be hopefully at least cathartic for me. My reactions aren't going to be anything super expressive, since I've already seen the season and I don't want to fake anything. Last thing, I'll not be limiting myself to spoilers for the first book or first season, so if you haven't read the book series and don't want to be spoiled on things that may happen in season 2 or beyond, I would suggest not watching these videos, which would be a shame. So, you could just watch them anyway. Let's go ahead and get started.
The world is broken. Many, many years ago, men who were born with great power believed they could cage darkness itself.
The music right here is really good, I gotta say. And Rosamund Pike's voice in this, fantastic. Camera work, fantastic. It starts off so strong, even though I don't really love the actual intro paragraph. I need to remember it started this way. It's a great intro for a fantasy show, I think. The girl or boy thing is, I get why they did it for the mystery of who the dragon is, which I think worked for people who, I think there's a lot of evidence that it worked for people who hadn't read the books. And that's the main thing we should be doing. So I'm okay with that. But it certainly causes some lore issues. The intro was so good. This is so bad. I have no idea why they decided that this would be the way to open the show, with a completely fictional or a completely show-created scene. That's just so poorly done. It looks bad. That's cool, I guess, in a way of showing what the madness can be, that he's crazy. But there's, I think people often talk about the show don't tell that you should do in TV shows, as if it's every single time anything needs to be conveyed, it needs to be shown and not told, which I think it goes a little too far. There are times when hearing things works better, and I think this could be a time where we didn't need to be shown this right away.
He was born 20 years ago, almost the day the prophecy of the Dragon Reborn predicted.
There's no way that guy was 20.
There are rumors of 4 Tavir in there.
This is so stupid. Why they decided to put that line in? How could there be rumors of 4 Taviran? What does that even mean? How could there be rumors of that? As if it's like, that would be a mega event, and no Aes Sedai would be like, oh yeah, maybe I should go check out the fact that there are 4 people that can shape the pattern in the same town. Like, nah, not a big deal. Just the most prolific thing to happen in the world in centuries. I'm not bothered. It's so stupid. Also, okay, I'm gonna pause from the actual episode. I don't like the logo at all. It's so hard to tell what it is, and I like it in theory. It's a very cool thought. It just doesn't end up looking that good on a black background, I think. Okay, so 2 rivers.
Remind you that you are a part of us, and we are part of you. To be a woman is to be always alone, and never alone. So, when the dark surrounds you and you see no light, feel this braid and know that we all stood before you. We all stand with you.
It's a pretty cool statement, I think. That doesn't really make sense, but it's okay. This scene is like kind of weird and stupid, but I guess it's an interesting thing for a TV show. I thought they were going to go further with it as a metaphor for channeling, because it is a metaphor for channeling, but they never really do, which is confusing to me. Also, like, do Two Rivers girls sometimes die in this ceremony? And it's just like, darn, I guess she wasn't really that much of a woman. The water's so beautiful, though. Wouldn't you love to be, like, floating in it? It looks incredible. It's so gross. I don't know why she lays her head down on the rocks. Like, she's just been floating, too, so she shouldn't be that tired. I just got all over her face. Gosh, this is something I was really looking forward to about the show. These incredible landscape shots, because they're in location. And they do have some amazing ones. Also a Rand sweater. Just, yes. I want one. It's a cool shot, too. Get that little glint of the sun. Tam's beard looks really bad. I can't tell if it's fake or if he just grows a strange beard.
Sounds like I used to be a real sap.
But they work really well together. I think they have good chemistry as... Oh my gosh, that shot. So gorgeous. Like, that is an amazing shot. I don't know if it's like fully real or if there's some CGI, but it looked awesome. I wish there was more of that, to be honest. It reminds me of Lord of the Rings movies. The original 3 Lord of the Rings movies. That had such amazing New Zealand landscape shots. Wheel of Time has some of that too. At least in the first few episodes. I can't remember much of it later on. I think Barney does a good job of Matt, but I don't love the way Matt is written. He's not... They just sort of like change the characters from... I don't know, they were all a little generic, I guess, in the first book, which was on purpose, I think, in a way, by Robert Jordan. But they were changed into just being tropes. And I don't think that's exactly an improvement. Matt wasn't a degenerative gambler in the Two Rivers.
Only Copland told you that, wasn't it?
So?
She'd piss in your mouth and tell you it was raining.
It's such a stupid line. They had that in like the leaked script from way early on, and I was like, okay, surely that's going to be rewritten because it just sounds so dumb. But nope. Kept it. That scene is interesting because it shows that Rand and Perrin care about Matt, but just one scene earlier, they were just laughing at him losing money. There's like a weird dichotomy there. Congrats, Joe Gwaine. I don't understand why they decided to make Bran a skinny, good-looking man. Like, what's the point of that type of change? You never trust a skinny innkeeper. Poor Rand. He's probably thinking, I wish Perrin or Matt could give me advice. They're so much better with women than I am. And here Perrin is to give him some advice. Guess you can't make that joke given that Perrin's married.
Lan Mondragoran. This is Moiraine.
I think Daniel Henney did a great job as Lan, but I hate how he pronounces Moraine. I can't decide if I like that intro scene or not. On the one hand, it's like really feels like classic fantasy genre. They just kind of like swung for like the hamming it up. And I don't like, I'm fine with that, to be honest. I almost wish they'd done more of that in the season. But on the other hand, like, why would they have walked in like that? It's very weird. I think it works nicely for Moraine's characterization, though. In the books, she was always very mysterious, very... You never knew if she did know way more than she was letting on, or if she was just pretending to know way more than she was letting on. And sometimes it was one, sometimes the other, sometimes a bit of both. And that scene encapsulated that very well.
Where's Layla? Probably at the forge. Iron's hard to work alone.
This annoys me so much. I don't care about Perrin being married. I was to say, I'm fine with Perrin being married. I think it works for, like, differentiating him a little bit from Rand and Matt at the beginning. But the inference that he's, like, a lazy blacksmith and, like, bad husband and doesn't care about doing work, that doesn't make any sense. It's completely opposite to Perrin's character. And, like, his wife is the one who loves blacksmithing, and he, like, just does it when he has to. Or he's, like, only her assistant, perhaps. I can't even tell in the show if he's actually a blacksmith himself. Also, in this scene, Rafe Judkins said after the show that she's not married. But this is a clear visual TV show indication, in my opinion, that she is pregnant. Like when a husband character puts his hand over the wife character's stomach, that's like a TV trope of she has a baby. I don't understand this point with Matt's family either. Maybe they're going somewhere with it, or they would have if they kept Barney, but I don't see what it... Like, what does that add? That his dad's a lecherous creep and his mom is an extreme drunk. Like, I guess it adds that he takes care of his sisters more, but he doesn't really. Maybe, though, I could see in future seasons him being very concerned about them, but that, like, he's not in the books. Like, he cares about them, but he's not that concerned. He doesn't really have any particular desire to go back and take care of them. So, what, like, I can't tell where they're going with it in the future. Like, is it going to be a plot point that he really wants to go back and it, like, pains him that he can't? Maybe, but why?
To finish up the dishes.
Of course.
He's going to finish up something, that's for sure.
I'm thinking about something that I need.
And then this is hilarious.
Has that been in your pocket or?
It's so funny. Oh yeah, maybe it has been. Perhaps that's not as romantic as I thought it would be. I think I like this scene for the sake of TV. They don't use the same baths in the book, but there's no reason that they wouldn't. I don't think it would be something that either of them would be uncomfortable with. And it does do a good job in the TV show of showing that they're not in a relationship. There's no sexual chemistry, no sexual tension. They're just not just friends, but very close in a unique way. I'm so intrigued by the fact that they felt it would be a good idea for Rand and Egwene to have sex in the common room of an inn where their parents also live. That is so weird on so many levels. I think they do a good job with their relationship. It's not over the top high school drama. That's a realistic level of tension. And they, Rand got upset. He left. It wasn't over dramatized. This is also a pretty cool shot. Again, kind of like classic fantasy, which is good. I mean, all the time is classic fantasy. The horse looks cool. I'm not sure about the Murdral face because I assume in the future we're going to see Murdral actually fighting more. And it's hard to tell what that's going to look like and if the actor will even be able to fight wearing the mask thing. I think Patton Fane is fantastic in the show. I can't remember the actor's name off the top of my head, but I think he does a good job. You can tell he's slimy and weaselly, as he should be. The fact that Matt stole the girl's bracelet after having sex with her to sell it, I hate. That's not who Matt is. Also, he's a freaking moron. How would he not have thought through the fact that Patton Fane can't sell the bracelet he just stole in the town he stole it from? And he's somehow mad at Fane. That's totally legitimate. That's a gorgeous shot.
And the two rivers. Like the house I built. The wife I have. And my kids running through these woods just like I did.
I love this scene. I think it's fantastic for establishing both of their characters. That Rand wants this life.
I'm going to.
And Egwene does not. And Rand understands and accepts that. And they both do a great job of acting it, I think. You can tell they're both hurt by it, but they care about each other, and they know it's not going to work out. And also, my gosh, it's so good. Like, that shot is so gorgeous. This part, again, one of the other things, it's like, why did they add this? Why would they add this stupid pools of, like, power or something? What is that? Why? It makes no sense.
Sisters took one look at her ragged clothes, her peasant accent, and they turned her away.
That's so dumb. It clearly has... I think it's got to be wrong. That Nynaeve is incorrect. There's no indication in the show here of that. For some reason, Moraine doesn't refute it. But surely the Aes Sedai would not have turned her away because she looks poor. That's clearly not something they've done, as we see later with Swan. I don't know why Moraine doesn't refute it, but it makes sense as to why Nynaeve would have a negative view of the Aes Sedai. But does she need that? She already had it in the books. But Moraine got the info she wanted to, which was how old Nynaeve was. And she doesn't particularly share information very often, so... You know, I can see an argument for why she wouldn't, but in that case I don't see what the point of not sharing that is. But perhaps Shadow would antagonize Nynaeve even more. Rand's sweater's so good. I want somebody to make it and sell it online. If it was somehow soft and not scratchy, it would be fantastic. I'll talk about this more in the future episodes to see if I still agree with myself. But as of right now, not having seen the other episodes in months, I feel like the cinematography in episode 1, at least in most ways, is way better than like all or most future episodes. You can tell they're really in this place. It looks amazing. And that's not always the case in the future episodes. I guess it helps maybe that they're outside almost the whole time, but or a lot in these scenes. But the lighting is really good. They have so many of these shots where it looks nice and you can tell like this was the point of them shooting on location in another country, which, you know, is more difficult than shooting on a lot in Hollywood, but it's worth it for it to look real like this. Of course, this doesn't really make any sense. Like they for some reason decided to copy Game of Thrones, even though they're trying to not be a copy of Game of Thrones. But this is not something that happens in Wheel of Time, and it's exactly what happened in Game of Thrones episode 1. This is so sweet. It's a good friendship scene, shows that Perrin and Rand are very caring and think deeply about Matt and other people in general. And Matt, of course, has to take the money even though he already has the lanterns. So you can't tell him he stole the thing. That's another great landscape shot. This is an interesting scene that they created for the TV show. Not similar in any way to the book.
How long does it take before the Wheel of Time turns someone's spirit back into the world again?
Wish I knew. But I'm sure there's a reason no one can remember their previous lives. All we can do is the best we can with the life that's given to us.
But I love this scene.
Pain we face, our heartbreak, even death. The wheel keeps turning. Always. We try again. Maybe do a little better than the last time.
It's such a powerful scene. It both explains how the wheel works and just gives a great philosophical perspective for their world from someone who's as wise as Tam. It's honestly, like, the only issue I have with it is, like, it's too advanced development for, like, Rand's philosophical thought process, but I'm sure it will get a callback later, and I think and I'm really looking forward to that because it's so well done. You can feel the emotion both of this scene and Rand and his father thinking about Kari, and Eve thinking about her family, the town, just sort of in general. It's really good. And the shot of Rand and Tam on their farm also looked great. I'm really glad that they created it and put it in the show. It might be my favorite scene out of the entire show, not just this episode, the entire show in terms of scenes that were fully created for the show. I wish they'd had Tom in this part, but oh well. That looks really good too. They did a great job on the Trollocs, except for the fact that they can't move very well, which I don't really know how you would have gotten around that. But them being practical is cool. They're obviously huge, which I frankly didn't expect. I thought they would make them more human-sized to be a little bit easier with the movement and the fighting. But they look legitimately terrifying and real except for when they run around. But I think that sort of works in that they don't move the way I think they should because they're amalgamation of various animal parts, so they wouldn't move like anything that I've seen. I don't think they did that on purpose, but I think it works. This is a good scene of like a long continuous shot, which is pretty rare in action scenes. That's terrifying too. Wait, it busts in the door. Ugh, ouch. Ooh, gosh. The scene, I feel like it's a lot of criticism because of Tam not killing Narg, but he's been kind of injured already by being knocked around. Totally surprised. He's never seen a Trolloc before, and he does get the first several hits in, and in a normal sword fight, those several cuts would have been debilitating for an opponent. And then the Trolloc just sort of like knocks him backwards. And so I understand why, why it worked out that way, sort of, but as a Blade Master, you would think he would be intelligent enough to figure it out. I love this scene. I love that Nynaeve just like screams back. Of course, this also sort of undercuts the Blade Master thing a bit that Nynaeve does just as well as Tam. It's sort of like luck, but the CGI on the ripping the Trolloc part was bad. And I don't understand why they decided to make the weaves all silver. I think that was a poor choice, and I hope they change it for season 2. But you can still tell that like she's channeling fire there, but you can't tell what she's doing here. It's just spinning weaves in a circle. Lan is like total badass though. We can't quite tell how good Tam is, but we can tell how good Lan is. I also like the scene. I feel like it gets criticized, but like the Two Rivers people do know how to fight, and they do this later on with less of them, so I think it works. Also, I think it starts out well with Moiraine and Lan being appropriately powered against these Trollocs. They kill a lot of them, but it is difficult and not an easy fight for them, which is similar to how it's described in the book, I think. Should have just left them there. They were doing well already. That was pretty cool. I think that works too, because Moiraine is strong enough to channel a lightning bolt, but it's not a giant bolt or like a ton of them. It killed like 3 Trollocs, and seems like it took a lot of time, which I think is a sort of substitute for taking a lot of effort. That would hurt so bad, getting pulled by your braid. This scene is confusingly shot. It's kind of another thing that Rafe afterwards said she wasn't going to hit him, but it kind of looked like she was. But when I watched it the first time, I didn't think so. I thought she was just also going to hit the Trolloc. So I don't know. Maybe we'll find out more about her in the future. To be honest, this scene was fantastic for first-time readers. I know that for a fact. A lot of first-time viewers, I should say, people who haven't read the books. I've talked to quite a few who thought it was, well, a lot, who thought it was like shocking and one of the best scenes in the entire season. They were shocked. They thought it was fantastic. They didn't expect it at all. They thought it was super powerful. I didn't. I think a lot of readers didn't, because, like, frankly, I just don't care about Layla, because I know she's not going to be in the story. And so I know some people want to find out more about her, like, is she a dark friend, or, what's some more going on? I don't. I just, don't care. I'm fine with her never being mentioned again. Ooh. Ow. Probably, nope. Should have left it in. Doesn't make any sense to pull it out. Now she's going to bleed out. They look very good. Very scary. I'm curious whether she already had the Choden Call type Angreal, because if so, she could have used it here. Would have made things a bit easier. But maybe she shouldn't have the women's one, I don't know. Pour wine spring in. So I wonder if this is channeling air or earth or both. That's the thing with the clear or the white weaves, like, it's just sort of a jumble of doing stuff with magic. And that is a shame, because one of the best parts about the Wheel of Time is its extremely unique magic system. And if everything's just a silver spirally whirl, the magic system is partially defeated. I've seen some really good concepts of what it could look like, including a couple of those shows. And even the poster art for this season had some very cool looking, very colorful looking weave designs. And I wish it had looked like that. Maybe it just ended up being out of budget. I've seen some VFX stuff where they said they chose the white because it looked better. I hope somebody tells them no, it does not. It looks much worse. You got to go with the color, because if it costs more money to do the color, that's fine. It's so much better looking, and more importantly, even it works better for the plot. You need to be able to see what the colors of the weaves are. Also, just to keep going on about the weaves, I think a lot of people were worried about how we would know who can see channeling and who can't. I don't really think that's a concern, to be honest. I think in most scenes, in that scene, it didn't matter who can see her channeling. Nobody can, and that doesn't really need to be established. We can tell that it's Moraine's the main character in the scene, so the weaves are visible because it's, it's not her like actual POV, but it's her POV because she's the main fighting character every time that's happening. In the future, we will hopefully get a lot of dialogue exposition that explains who can see weaves. It was very unclear in this season, and I hope that that's explained and kept the same way as it is in the books in the future. It's okay, at least he's got Egwene. I think this episode, in my opinion, is underrated. I think some of the criticism, like it's too slow, I don't feel it at all. I think it has great pacing. The action happens pretty soon. It's a good, long action scene, despite some like visual issues of, I think first season and a little bit messed up budget are part of the reason there. The one thing that I do miss is that everything with the scene in the wine spring where Rand talks to Moraine and agrees to go with her, I think that works so much better in the book.
Then these things the next day.
They're here for the same reason as I am.
Somebody better tell Rand that she killed all of them last night.
The dragon has been born again. And it's one of you.
I don't understand why she would have said that. Yeah, I agree, Matt. I agree. Like, why would she say that? She doesn't need to tell them that, like, one of you's the Dragon Reborn. It makes so much more sense in the book of your 3 houses got attacked. We need to go because they're hunting for you. And they go this way. Like, they go with it anyway. But, like, she just told them one of them is the Dragon Reborn. That seems like a bit bigger of an issue at this point. And it also takes away from Egwene's individual motivation of going, which was that she wanted it. She wanted to leave, she wanted to explore, she wanted to forge her own life. I love that they have this, though. I mean, I don't like that they left so quick without any sort of conversation. It doesn't make sense. And, like, Tam and Rand don't even hug. But I love that they have the wheel weaves line. And Rosamund Pike her voice sounds very good at reading things like that. That scene, that shot right there, also fantastic. I think that's really strong. That episode is so strong, in my opinion. I think, there are definitely issues, especially that first scene. But overall, it's very strong. Frankly, I don't understand the criticism for it. I think the pacing's good throughout. Like, I sat here, like, having things to say about it the whole time. And there was never, like, a moment where I was like, ugh, I want to sort of, like, take a break because it's boring. I think it was paced pretty well, and it didn't feel too long to me. Too short in that, like, it could have used some other stuff. Yes. And I hope Amazon gives Rafe the flexibility to go over the exactly hour-long episodes in Season 2, or at least 3 and beyond, because it can certainly use it sometimes, but overall, I think it was a good episode. I think it establishes some of the things that it needed to establish quite well. I think it does a good job of characterizing Moraine and Lan and Rand and Egwene and Matt and Perrin all as sort of individual characters. I don't agree with all the choices that they made, and in fact I dislike some of the choices, like with Matt, for example, being a thief. But I think they did a good job of making them individual characters. And I think that was something they clearly wanted to do. Whereas in the book, Rand, Matt, and Perrin are all a little bit generic. It's obviously all from Rand's point of view, so that's a little bit of why. But they're all just 3 single guys who are sort of brave, but also sort of scared. And they are suspicious of Moraine, but they go with her anyway. And they're all a little bit naive. And so they seem similar in the book. Not as similar as people make it out to be sometimes, I think, but they do seem like there's a big Lord of the Rings quality in the book that they got rid of in the show, I think, but also replaced it with those Game of Thrones allegories in the show, or references. So, like, what was the point of that? The scene with Leandrin, it just looked so bad and was so out of place. Like, just so out of place. I don't even think it's a bad scene in itself. It explains, sort of gives a good characterization to the red, but actually even more so to the black, which we'd find out later. But it just, like, it doesn't fit there at all, and it's not needed. And, like, why not put it in, like, episode 5 or episode 3 or something like that? Why lead off the show with it instead of leading off with something stronger? Something that, maybe the actual book prologue, or I could see not the book prologue, because that a lot of people were confused by that when reading the book for the first time, and you can see, like, I didn't expect them to lead with the book prologue. I didn't think it'd be a good fit. But why not Tam and Rand walking on the road and then, like, cut to the Egwene water women's circle scene? But I don't know. There were also scenes that I really loved in the episode that they added. The lantern scene, for sure. That's such a good scene, both for world building and character development, and just works emotionally, I think. It's really fantastic. And like I mentioned, it's definitely like the voiceover from Tam, I think, when he's explaining that we get to live and do our best, and then we get to try again. That's going to come back. It fits perfectly with future Rand psychological, philosophical developments. And I think that's cool that they did that. And it worked very, very well. There are also just some kind of random things I don't like. I don't think they, as a book fan, I don't think they did a good job with Layla Ibarra, but I know that it worked so well with so many non-readers that I can't really fault them for that. I just hope that they don't make it into a bigger deal going forward. Like, you don't need to keep bringing it back up. You don't need to go back to her a lot. Just have Perrin move on, honestly. And I'd be okay with that. What I don't get is the Perrin is a lazy blacksmith who's maybe not even that good at blacksmithing or doesn't do it very much, because that's so important later on. My worry is that they're going to be like, in season 2, it'll be like, Perrin's like, oh, I need to remember Layla. Let me, like, do some blacksmithing and, like, get good at it. I don't know. I just don't think that works. But we'll see what happens there. Maybe they'll get the message and change the direction there. Rand's sweater, absolutely fantastic. The Herrenmark sword looks kind of lame, but also Tam's sword is supposed to be pretty plain as far as Herrenmark swords go, so I'm okay with that. But I hope future ones look cooler. Game of Thrones, Wheel of Time have very cool, unique swords and weapons in general, and I hope Wheel of Time has that too. I get that they're going for like a realistic vibe or whatever, but make it cool. It's a fantasy show. All the actors I think are fantastic in this season, and I'll say that the whole way through. I can't think of more than like 1 or 2 times where I thought the acting was like not that good, and the cast is fantastic. I think everyone fits their role quite nicely, even if I don't like some of what they're doing at times. Everyone was cast very well for their part. Rand looks fantastic, looks exactly pretty much how I imagined him, and I think he does a good job of capturing the essence of Rand when he's acting, both in terms of his kind of relative naivety and also his genuineness and concern for others and attempting to do the right thing. I think Rosamund does a good job as Moraine. Daniel does a good job as Lan. They work well together too. They have good chemistry, which is good. That's going to be needed for sure. Zoe as Nynaeve is also one of my favorites. I figured she would be even beforehand, and she crushes it, I think. There are a few times that with all the characters, really, the only things I really have an issue with are more of writing, characterization based, and the actors are doing a good job with what they're given and being told to do. I just don't really like the direction that the show went with the characters, but the actors are doing a good job with it. Those are pretty much all my thoughts. I don't want to drag on too long because I know it's been discussed a lot already. Leave your thoughts in the comments on what you thought. What do you think about the lantern scene? I love that scene. Did you love it too? Did you not like it as much? What do you think? What about Layla Ibarra and Matt's stealing? Are those changes that you feel like were improvements or not improvements? If you felt like the Layla scene or the Layla stuff just in general did not work for you, do you think it would have worked better if you hadn't read the books? Because I think, in my opinion, that's the case. I think if I hadn't read the books, I would have been shocked and pulled into it as well. So let me know. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the episode in general, and also, feel free to talk about the landscape shots. I can go on and on about those. I think they had several gorgeous ones in this episode, and clearly, you could tell that they were on location. You could tell that not only the landscapes were real, but the Two Rivers was real, and in general, they looked very good. And it's sad that they demolished it all for the actual shooting, burned a lot of it down and that kind of thing. I almost feel like they went a little bit, maybe too much budget there, but it's cool that they did. I mean, that's what I wanted when when everyone heard they were making a Wheel of Time show and it's going to be Amazon and have an actual budget and that kind of thing. That's what you wanted. I hope it continues and even picks up from there. I gotta say a special thank you to my patrons, people who supported me on Patreon, even while not making videos. I don't know what I did to deserve that type of support, but I really appreciate it so much. So thank you so much for doing that. I'll make an episode 2 video hopefully soon, but I don't know if it will be before Jordan Con. We'll see. I hope you enjoyed this one. Hopefully it wasn't too boring or whatever, but we'll see. Also make some non-show related ones coming up as well, or at least I hope. I've got a lot going on as well right now, but we'll see. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next time.